Warning: the content of the video that you are about to watch pertains to the harvest of fur-bearing wildlife through the practice of ethical, sound wildlife management of modern-day trapping. If this bothers you, if it triggers you in any way, shape, or form, please leave this channel now. Hey trappers, Dale Billingsley here, Billingsley Brand Lures. Guys, there's been some. We're gonna continue on with the trap talk segments here just a little bit. There's been some renewed interest in these little number 11s and double long spring traps in general, so I thought I'd kind of go over a few things with you. If you'll stay with me, we'll get things set up here and we'll get right at it. All right, guys, so the biggest thing with these double long spring traps, guys have a hard time setting them. So I'm going to kind of go over that with you a little bit. There's a way to set them, the easy way, and then there's the fight it difficult way. The fight it difficult way is guys trying to push down on both springs at the same time, okay? And the biggest thing a lot of guys I see do, so they're used to setting coil spring traps, and a coil spring trap sets completely different because you push down and out on the spring. A double long spring, you have to push straight down, okay? If you go trying to crank on them, you hear that drag, that scraping sound. What that is, the spring eye is dragging on the jaw, okay? That's what's causing that. Now listen, and you'll hear the difference here. If you just pick up just a little bit on the back of the spring and just push straight down. Now you don't hear that, okay? The other thing is, some of you new and younger trappers, you might have a little difficulty setting these, especially when you get up into the big number 3s, 4s, 5s. Even these little number 11s sometimes can be a real pain to set. So I want to show you a little trick there. If you just push one spring down at a time, and then if you take your leg and kick over that spring, and then you push that other side down, you can hold that spring all day long with your leg like that. And sometimes that'll make it easier for you to set, okay? And then the biggest thing is, too, when you go to set these, you've got to turn these springs back towards the dog of the trap, because that lets that loose jaw lay down flat. If you try to crank them the other way, you can see that loose jaw is wanting to rear up and raise up on you. Where if you go the other way back towards the dog, you can watch that spring or that jaw just lay right down right there where you need it. Okay, so some of the other things that need done, especially on these older style double long springs, I'll try to get that up there on the camera so you can see what I'm saying. The way the pan is assembled on these, they're just pinched onto the frame. They've got a split in them. You see that split, so that needs closed up more. You just take a pair of pliers and put in there and close that right up. You just get a hold of it just like that and just squeeze it, pinch it, and then you can see that it's closed back up. Now what needs to be done, you need to take and either tack that shut or braze it or something, because a lot of times, especially a coon, bigger traps, I've had coyotes and cats do it too, they will tear that pan plumb off. And they must eat the damn thing or something, because you'll never find it again. So you got to carry extra pans with you to replace it once you lose it. But if you just tack that or braze it shut, braze that little gap shut, then they can't tear it off for you. The newer style, especially like the, if you can find them, the Sleepy Creeks, the Bridgers have a nut and bolt, the Dukes have a nut and bolt. Some of the old Blake and Lambs have a rivet through the pan post. They've got an actual pan post. Some of them are built like this with the hump, like the Victors. Some of them have an actual pan post with a rivet through them. Now, what I'd like to do to those, and I need to do it to all of mine. I haven't done it to them all yet. The 20 dozen that I bought last summer of the Bridger number 11s, I didn't do it to a lot of them, and I need to finish it up. Is either ping the end of that nut or that bolt, or burr them threads up, booger them up a little bit. That way that nut doesn't come off, because you will lose a pan off of them once in a while too. Nuts come loose, the bolt slides out, and the next thing you know, your pan's gone. In fact, we had a mink do it to us down in Louisiana this year. You wouldn't think a little old mink would do that to it, but by golly, they sure will. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Then the other thing, especially with the Dukes, now this happens to be an old Victor, the Dukes have a very weak base plate. It wouldn't hurt to base plate them, or you could always, you know, if you don't want to make or buy an actual base plate for them, you just run a piece of 1/8" cold rolled across there, just something to stiffen that up. Because what happens if you, again, it's all in the setting technique. If you try cranking on those springs, on those Duke number 11s, and they're a fine trap. They got a heck of a hot spring in them. They hold very well. You can buy them in a double jaw. In fact, right now they're the only trap being produced with a number 11 with a double jaw. They're a fine trap, but like I said, that base plate is really weak. And if you try cranking on them springs, what you'll do is you'll bow that base plate, pop the jaws right out of them. Then you got to take it back to the shop, straighten it back out, put the jaws back in and all that good stuff, rebuild it. So save yourself a little headache there and just weld a piece of 1/8" cold rolled across there, or go ahead and make or buy an actual base plate. And I don't think you can buy a base plate for these number 1s. Nobody makes them. So you're going to have to fabricate something to weld across the bottom of this to keep that from bowing, to keep that from happening. And then if you want to, you could always, you know, center swivel them and that kind of stuff. But I've kind of done some, backed up, and I have done some rethinking on center swivels on double long springs. I think you're better off in the long run to swivel off the end of it. The reason being, when it's center swivel like this, and that animal's rolling, those big double long springs sticking out there are like airplane wings, and they hang up in the mud and the dirt a lot of times. I think it causes a lot of paw damage, a lot of ring off, especially in beaver if you're catching by the front foot alive like I do. So I think you're better off leaving that chain out here on the end of it so that everything kind of stays in line and as it rolls. I hope that makes sense to you. Guys, that's pretty much all there is to it. You can go ahead and laminate them if you want to, or put a web jaw in them to reduce the area in here for especially raccoons and gray fox to self-mutilate. That's entirely up to you as to what you want to do there. I personally don't do anything to my little number 11s, number 3s, number 4s, number 5s. I think once you get into bigger traps that it does become more mandatory and more of a necessity than anything else. But I do believe on these little number 11s it's not necessary. And if I was to laminate these, especially for raccoon, I would use square stock over round stock, just for the simple fact is a coon's paw is slick and rubbery, kind of like our hands, and it's easier for them with a round stock to pull out than what it is with a square stock. That square stock will actually bite into the paw a little better and get a better hold. So that's pretty much it as far as that goes, as far as modifications to a double long spring trap, and as far as for how to set one. The biggest thing is, as I said earlier, just push straight down on those springs, okay? Don't try cranking on them. If you try cranking on them, you're going to get that resistance and that drag. If you're hearing that, you're setting it wrong. Straight down around the corners of the frame, flip your jaws over, set your trap. It's that simple. There's nothing difficult to it. Then the other thing is just make sure you're bending those, and you'll know when you do it. Bend them springs back towards the dog instead of out here towards the loose jaw to get that loose jaw to lay down flat. That's pretty much it, guys. All right, guys, I hope you found this video helpful to you, and if you have, if you would please just hit that thumbs up for me. That's all I'm asking. For those of you that may be interested in it, I do put on clinics and schools at certain times of the year, and when those are approaching and coming up, I will put the information out here on video for you. I also do private instructions. If you feel you need private instructions, you can always come to me. You can call me or message me anytime to get a price on that, or the school, either one. Also, at certain times, I am able to get away to dang them gnats, to come to you on your trap line, not necessarily during the season, but in the off season we can go through your trap line at your place to help, you know, some of the problems you may be having there. Again, you can call me or message me for information there. Once again, guys, I appreciate everything you've done for the channel, and I appreciate you watching. This is Dale Billingsley with another one. Signing out.